What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this POV review by AutoTopNL. My name is Max, and today we are taking a look at this 2005 BMW M5 E60. So this is the S85 V10 M5, and it is a freaking legend. And today I'm going to show you around it. We're going to take a look at the spec, and then we'll take it for a drive towards the Autobahn for an Autobahn blast. Now, this car belongs to Emre, and he has a YouTube channel as well. Emre Drives, you can check that out. He is a real car guy, a real petrol head, and he has awesome taste in cars. As you can see, he just bought this M5 V10, and he also just bought a Porsche 911. So he really likes his cars, and he has a cool channel and an Instagram and stuff. So go check it out. I'll put the link in the description if you want to watch his videos as well. So a 2005 E60 M5. Now, we've made a few videos with this car in the past, but we thought, you know, we've never done it on the Autobahn, we never did measurements 100 to 200, and we never did a POV review with a stock M5. So today I'm going to talk a bit about the car, why it's such a legend, and why you should or could actually buy one, even though a lot of people are very scared of this car, of the maintenance costs, and you know, it's notoriously expensive to maintain. But there are actually just three things that you need to do, and Emre has done, or this car has had all three of them done, and that means that you can quite safely drive this car. So the spec, we've got an Alpine Weiss M5, which is quite rare. You don't see them that often in white. It is an original BMW paint, and I quite like it. I'm not the biggest fan of white cars in general, but I do think that the E60, well, especially the M5, it kind of works in this color. This car is imported from Japan, and it has been taken care of very well. It just feels super fresh, even though it's done 150,000 kilometers. So we've got almost brand new Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires and 19-inch wheels. Now, we've got regular steel brakes, perforated discs, as you can see. Braking performance is quite all right. I'm just not really able to find out if they offered carbon ceramic brakes on this car, because I read on a couple of websites that they did, but that it was a very rare option. But I'm not sure, because I've never seen it and I never see anything about this. So if anyone knows about this, let us know in the comments. I do know that you can get a carbon ceramic brake kit from a BMW M3 F80 and do a conversion for this car quite easily. So that would be an option if you would like to have carbon ceramics. Now, we've got a vent right here to extract air from the wheel well to reduce front lift. The E60 M5 also got a super lightweight new suspension setup compared to the regular E60. So we've got a new front and rear subframe. We've got stiffer bushings, stiffer anti-roll bars front and rear, and it also has an independent suspension system that has been redesigned to be as lightweight as possible. It's almost completely made out of aluminium. So it is a very serious power saloon, this car. At the rear we've got a massive M5 badge, and then of course the quad exhaust. This exhaust is stock, as it should be. I know that you can get this car to sound absolutely crazy with, you know, a different exhaust like an FI, like we've featured on our channel. It sounds amazing, it really does, but I quite like it the way it is, because this is just a little bit more sophisticated, and you still have that beautiful V10 sound. So you can see the sticker here, BMW Alpine Weiss 3. Apparently they have two other Alpine Weiss colors, and you can also see a little Japanese sticker right there. Now, the S85 5-liter V10 produces 507 horsepower and 520 newton meters of torque. This engine was actually, the architecture, the base of the engine is the V10 Formula 1 engine, but of course, you know, it really doesn't have that much to do with it. It's just that the base, they started with an F1 V10 architecture, and that is really, really cool. So it's got 4 valves per cylinder. It's got M double Vanos variable valve timing, and it's got 10 individual throttle bodies. This engine is a freaking masterpiece, and it is also developed from scratch, and you can't find it in any other car than an M5 E60, E61, or of course the M6, the E63, I guess. Now, this engine has always had a bad reputation for reliability, but there are two things you need to change. You need to do the rod bearings and you need to do the throttle actuators. If you do both of those things, you're relatively safe in driving this car, and it shouldn't be too expensive or risky to run this car. Now, the engine is mated to the Geertruck SMG gearbox in this car as well. BMW sold just over 19,500 of these M5 sedans and just over 1,000 M5 Tourings. The sedan in the US was also available with a manual gearbox, and they sold around 1,300 of those. Especially that touring version is so freaking awesome. You rarely see them. And as for the manuals, as I said, they are for the US market. So if you want one of those, you have to import it from the US. They are quite sought after now, especially because the SMG gearbox, while it is a lot of fun and it is, you know, very entertaining to drive, it is not the most sophisticated gearbox. So a manual will, I think, will last longer because it will be, you know, fun to drive forever basically. While the SMG gearbox, you know, technological development kind of caught up to this gearbox. All right. Now, let's take a look inside. As I said, Emre's car is in really good condition. So we've got this beautiful, what is that, beige light gray leather. Is very, very nice. It's in really good condition. And this car also has like the extended leather pack. So you have the entire door panels covered in leather, the top of the dash as well. Yeah, it is a very, very nice spec. And it also has the most aggressive side bolster adjustment I've ever seen. Okay, let me see. Yeah, I think I can show you guys that. All right, so you've got these two buttons here, and if I press that, you can see how far that goes and how hard and aggressive. It's crazy. It's like you're being taken hostage by your seat. And then you also have the dynamic seats down here, which the bolster on one side sort of blows up in the corners, so you don't shift in the corners, but doesn't really work well. You just have to set this nice and tight, and then you're good to go. Now let's start it up. And there we go, very civilized. As I said, such a recognizable sound. It's really easy to recognize an E60 M5. Okay, so we've got a couple of buttons down here, one down there. As you know, let's select the power button, because why not? And then if we want to go to M mode and then turn off DSC, we then have the option to go in the most aggressive setting for the gearbox. There are 6, and that is the most awesome gearbox mode ever, because the gearbox just hits you in the rear with the most massive bang. Oh, that is so hard. It is really insane. You almost feel like you're breaking something. And that really is the most amazing thing about an E60 M5. When you are on it, when you really start extracting the power from that V10, shifting that gearbox in the most aggressive setting, it is such a fun car, and it really lives up to the expectation when you do that. But as you can probably hear, when you're not at that red line, the shifts are much slower. So there's a very big difference between the shift speeds, even in the same most aggressive mode. Oh, but the sound is so nice. Of course, this car came out basically in the heyday of V10 cars. And even the main competitor, Audi RS6 C6, also had a V10. Audi S8, Lamborghini Gallardo, Audi R8. A lot of V10s back then, but this definitely is a special one. It feels very different from the other ones. It sounds very different as well. So 80 to 150 RPM, red light, massive shift. But I have to say that this particular one that Emre has bought, I mean, it feels so smooth and it feels really well taken care of. And of course, we've got those modern Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. Those are just magic tires. They improve any car, and especially on a 17-year-old car, I mean, that is going to make a big difference. This car, it has so much grip and so little torque relatively, so it just keeps gripping. All right, so let's take a pause to let that rear-facing car go. I mean, that car looks like it's coming towards you, even though it is going away. It is such a mindfuck. Okay, so oh, that is so nice. I mean, it's plenty loud. It doesn't need to be any louder than this. It's so good stock. Okay, so let's take it to the Autobahn, because that, of course, is where this car shines. When you have the space to run through these gears, that is when the fun happens. Now, top speed of this car was limited at 250 kilometers an hour, or optional 305 kilometers an hour. But I actually already know that this car stops accelerating at 260 GPS speed. And there we go, 270 on the speedo, and that's it. And it gets there very easily. So let's slow down a little bit and do another little run. Second gear. Oh, those shifts are so hard. I mean, when the car came out, it was criticized for its looks, for just the sheer amount of electronics that were on this car. People thought it was complicated with the iDrive system that allowed you to set up the car completely to your own liking, but also because they thought the gearbox was clunky and not very sophisticated. And of course, after this, we got a lot of dual clutch gearboxes and everything became more smooth, and it had to be like a more that PlayStation feel. While now we look back and think that this is fun, you know, that this is great, that the fact that you feel the gearbox, the single clutch 7-speed gearbox, basically force in that next gear, as fun, as great, as a good driving experience. And the dual clutches are, well, a bit boring, to be honest. This is much more entertaining, even though it's not the best gearbox, especially when you drive slowly around town. You know, it's not the most sophisticated thing, but it's just fun, and we like fun. I have to say that even though we drove an M5 E60 9 years ago, I think it was almost 10 years ago, 2012, October 2012, I saw a video. That one was really bad. I mean, it had shit tires, and I think we got an oil notification as well that it needed more oil, and it just didn't feel that great. And this one with 150,000 kilometers, 10 years later, it's from 2005, it's 17 years old, and it feels this fresh. That's a really good sign. It's almost impossible to break traction with these tires and 520 Newton meters of torque. And I completely forgot about the 100 to 200 performance. Of course, we also measured that 9.28, which is around the same time as my Mercedes E55 AMG, actually, from around the same year. Yeah, it's a 2004 car. So they are very close together still after all this time. But 928 is a very respectable time. It's still a fast car. And I mean, if you think about it, how cool is it that if you take that E55, this M5, and the RS6 C6, they all had similar performance, but the characters were so different. It's really cool to drive these older performance cars now, still. And they still are fun to drive. But the problem is, they're not so much fun to fuel up. So, let's go outside and put some juice into this beautiful M5. And what are we paying, guys? €2.67 for a liter of 102 octane fuel. Great. So, Emre, thank you so much for taking your car to us. Really appreciate it. As I said, he's got an awesome YouTube channel. So if you're interested, I'll link his channel on screen right now or in the description. You can also check out this video on the right or go check out this playlist on the left. See you at the next one. Bye.